Mist Valley Arts and Entertainment. Passion burns. Help us be a bonfire for your soul.
This is Mist Valley Arts and Entertainment. My name is Dredd, and welcome to my album review. Slik Toxik's 1992 album, Doing the Nasty. Wow. Man, this might actually be a hard review for me to get through. In all seriousness, I have trouble hearing or reading the word Slik Toxik, and not instantly breaking out into a grin wide enough that threatens to eat up my entire face. There are absolutely nothing but good thoughts and feelings associated with this album for me. If I tear up during this review, it is from pure happiness overload. Slik Toxik, spelled S-L-I-K, then T-O-X-I-K, is a band that originated out of Toronto, Canada. Despite them being from a place that describes itself as the center of the universe, a place much of the rest of Canada holds in disdain, I will forgive them because, well, they're Slik Toxik and they're awesome. Are Slik Toxik a hard rock band? Are Slik Toxik a heavy metal band? The answer to both of these questions are a resounding yes. In the mid-80s, a hard rock band existed in Toronto named Portrait. At some time, in a discussion with the manager of another band, it was decided that the band would change their name to Slik Toxik. Shortly after, the band got signed to a management deal and began to demo some material that they hoped to get them noticed by a major label. The demos were originally produced by Bob Potter, who had worked previously with the Scorpions. The band weren't entirely happy with the process, and so they ended up self-producing the demos with the help of engineer Andrew St. George, who had worked with the Killer Dwarfs, and then engineer Rick Anderson, who had worked with Rush, was brought in to finish the job. At this point, the band consisted of vocalist Nick Walsh, guitarist Rob Bruce, guitarist Kevin Gale, Pat Howarth on bass, and Neil Busby on drums. For a moment, I need some coffee. You're like, Dredd, why didn't you cut the coffee part out? Because it's coffee. The band then teamed with producer Paul Gross, who worked with Lee Aaron, finished recording 6 songs and began shopping around for a major label. Capitol Records signed the band in 1991 and released an EP called Smooth and Deadly, and then in 1992 released the full-length album Doin' the Nasty. The band went on to tour North America and released 4 successful singles, the album reaching gold status in Canada, as well as winning the 1993 Juno Award for Hard Rock Album of the Year. Their video for White Lies, Black Truths won the People's Choice Award for Video of the Year, and the video for Hell of a Time won Best Metal Video Award at the 1992 Much Music Video Awards. Slik Toxik played a large 1992 Canada Day festival with the Tragically Hip, Spinal Tap, and 5440 in Barrie, Ontario. While touring North America, they opened for bands like Kim Mitchell, Faster Pussycat, Yngwie Malmsteen, and Black Sabbath. They then did headlining shows with Sven Galley and Big House opening for them. In 1994, the band got together to put out a second full-length album, asking their producers to help them become more edgy, a la Skid Row, Pantera, and Alice in Chains. The band had also parted ways with their label and were going it alone. Things seemed to be going very well for this band. Then, various members were struck down by the lifestyle, suffering from depression, drug abuse, and alcoholism. And just like that, the band was splintering and threatening to fall apart. At a 1994 post-Juno Awards party, bassist Pat Howarth stole a limousine, drove it while intoxicated, and subsequently crashed it. Following some time off to get cleaned up, Howarth had another incident and was let go from the band. Adam Headland was brought in to finish the album and be their touring bassist. The album Irrelevant was released in 1994, and although it received much critical acclaim, the grunge-loving mainstream public did not go out and buy the album. Consequently, the band broke up and parted ways. Singer Nick Walsh and guitarist Rob Bruce went on to form the modern rock band Raised on Mars. They released a self-titled album. Walsh then formed the band Revolver, which changed its name in 2011 to Famous Underground. Excuse me. Before we get into the minute details of the album Doin' the Nasty, let's talk a little bit about my fascination with the band and this album and where that came from. I bought this album in the spring of '92, shortly after hearing the song Hell of a Time played on the radio. I remember tearing open the packaging. I couldn't get the CD into my player fast enough. Poring over the band photos as I listened to the opening strains of the first track, Big Fucking Deal, I remember thinking that my goosebumps had goosebumps that had goosebumps as I listened in giddy silence. 13 songs, one after another after another. Sitting there listening, I was certain that I had just discovered the next band that were going to be massive stars. And as they pumped out single after single from this album, accolade after accolade, video awards, gold records, how could I be wrong on this? This was music that spoke to me. It was a soundtrack to my 21-year-old years. Not a bad song on there. I even love the ballads. As awesome as their music was, and let me just say, this band, their sound. Picture a hair metal band with sleaze rock sensibilities, then mix that in a blender with a youthful Skid Row and GNR. As awesome as the music was, Nick Walsh had the voice of a rock god. His voice was power and emotion, and he brought me to tears with his performances. One of the greatest rock singers in the history of rock and roll. In the end, the only thing that stopped them from becoming as huge as they should have been was the changing musical trends of the day. Killed by grunge and the music industry that was looking to force feed the masses something that they could control and exploit easier. Doin' the Nasty is 13 cuts of choice sleaze rock. Hard rock choruses and guitars played with a fierceness that can only come from a group of guys who aren't faking who they are. Like Skid Row and Guns N' Roses, and this band totally deserves to be in the same sentence as those other two. This is a band who actually sings about things they have seen and witnessed, snippets of their own lives shared on stage with the enraptured masses. Big Fucking Deal is the opening track, and it is a hard rock blues song that is soaked in its own juices. Slow and plodding, it turns up the attitude to 11 as it rumbles along. Second track is Hell of a Time, a bouncy track with shades of Eddie Van Halen. This song was the lead-off single and video. Sweet Asylum is a pseudo-ballad, and as Nick's vocals wail through this tune, it is becoming more and more evident that this group has far more in common with GNR than one might expect from a Canadian band. Another track that became both a single and a video. Fourth track is White Lies, Black Truth, a mid-paced rocker that again shows off Nick's vocals perfectly. One of my favorite tracks on the album, this is also a video and a single. Nick inferred that this song was the reason they got signed to a record label. Cherry Bomb is a song about a burlesque dancer and is quite a fun tune. The sixth track is Marionette, and this is by far my favorite track on the album, which is full of super great songs. Nick's voice trades off with the twin guitars, creating something not quite like anything that I've ever heard before. Nick has admitted that the song was inspired partially by a new band he had just heard about around the time this was being written, a band named Guns N' Roses. It's Not Easy is a song about Nick not being able to handle his boobs. The eighth track is Crashed, a ferociously paced song about playing music and partying. By the Fireside is my favorite of their ballads. It is beautiful, haunting, dreamy, and inspiring. It still feels like I could wake up at any second and kick you full in the face. Blood Money is a sleazy song with great riffs. The 11th track is Cheap Nicotine, which Nick says was a lot of fun for the band to write and perform. Midnight Grind is the oldest song on the album, written before the band was even called Slik Toxik. It's a song about one of their concerts from the viewpoint of the crowd. And the 13th and last song on the album is called Rachel's Dead, and features samples of their other songs along with some dark riffing And reportedly, Rob Zombies has said that this is his favorite Slik Toxik tune. I don't know what else I could say about this album. Doin the Nasty catapulted this band up to the stars, at least briefly. The album was released on March 24th, 1992, and digital copies of the album were finally released just prior to its 30th anniversary. The album was produced by Anthony Vanderberg and Paul Gross. It was recorded at Phase 1 Studios in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. 4 singles, 4 music videos, Best Rock Album of the Year, 3 major awards for Best Video, and gold status in Canada. A band that could have, should have, gone even farther than they did, and one that totally deserves to be spoken of with the same reverence we usually reserve for Skid Row and GNR. And a lead singer, Nick Walsh, who has also made me a fan of his current band, Famous Underground. I cannot help it. I am going to give Slik Toxik's 1992 album, Doin the Nasty, a rating of 99 out of 100. To rate it any lower would be to lie. And we all know how the band feels about white lies, now don't we? Professional and polished, but still sounds rough and tough. An album you can be proud of. An album that'll make your neighbors nervous, yet it's award-winning music. It's got snarl and it's got style. So slick it's toxic, with equal parts bark and bite. That was a really strange sentence I wrote. It's really hard to get out. It's got snarl and it's got style. So slick it's toxic, with equal parts bark and bite. Maybe it's just me. This one stands the test of time. Slik Toxik's Doin the Nasty. Find it. Listen to it. Treasure it. You won't be disappointed. For Miss Valley Arts and Entertainment, this has been my album review for 1992's album, Doin the Nasty by Slik Toxik. Thank you guys so much. Peace out, everybody.